keep you from ever getting self-sufficient or truly being independent, then they've got you. Because if they can arrest your development, you will never develop into the higher levels where you realize you're not going to live very long and that you love humanity and you're building a society and that you live forever through what you build and through those that you lift up and through your genetic line. And the elite don't want you thinking like they think. I went to a Walmart last night because it's the only place you can buy film for a Polaroid camera here locally. Hadn't been in one in a while. And I watched, as I walked around with my son, the people, and I saw women who were attractive, and I watched them. They were so insecure, moping around, feeling totally horrible. There was a salon at the front. I saw a young woman come in, and it was closed, and she looked totally freaked out and depressed. I could tell she had some date coming up that evening. And you know, oh my gosh, she couldn't go in there and get that certification of beauty. You know, it's all these props people need. And I watched the men all wearing skull shirts, black, white, old, young, Hispanic, all trying to act tough, around their wives and girlfriends. And you could look in their eye. They were so insecure. They were so scared. They had seen all these images in culture and video games, and they didn't really feel powerful. And they were like little children. Because I guess I know they watch television all day, and they're not driving Lamborghinis. They're not driving the latest Ferrari. They don't have a high-maintenance tin on their arm, and they're worried about money, and that's why the system creates fiat money that's controlled by private groups and then artificially deflates the value of it, inflation, so that you're so obsessed with that and so insecure that you don't have time to challenge the system. I never thought I'd say it, but I saw a Justin Timberlake movie this weekend in 2 treadmill sessions. And it's called In Time, and I want to do a review of that because it's all about that, how they artificially control the resources. It's feudalism, so that there's a class structure. And it also gets into the elite living forever, and they have to kill 90% of the public if they're going to be able to live forever. Obviously influenced by reality. It's art imitating life, but it's a good film. I have to say that. I thought Justin Timberlake was a pretty good actor as well. But side issue, the point is that we live in an artificial environment. It's not totally artificial, but the globalists and DARPA and the scientific engineers are attempting, in their own words, to create a fully artificial habitat. I'm here to get you to wake up to this and to tell average people, stop letting them make you feel insecure. Hello, I'm Alex Jones. Myself, my family, the Infowars.com. Look at the videos of these Black Panthers, the new Black Panther Party, calling for the vigilante capture of Mr. Zimmerman. And they have the same clownish look as Ku Klux Klan rallies I've seen on video, except they've got dark skin. It's all part of the same divide and conquer. And you notice the federal government and the state governments are not going after them. If I got on air and said, I've got a $10,000 reward, I want 10,000 whatever color people to go grab somebody, there would be police cars pulling up here within an hour. Guaranteed. Because that is an insurrection. And a violation of due process. So you have to ask yourself, why is this going on? Why is this happening now? I'm going to talk about that later. That's one of the things in my stack. Black friend defends shooter of Florida team. We're going to be going over that. I'm not defending any of it. It sounds stupid following the guy down the street, but there are witnesses that, what you're not hearing in the media is he had a broken nose, and that Trayvon Martin was seen by witnesses on top of him. That was stupid as well. So we don't really know what happened here, and we're going to be getting into that. Also, China unveils new legislation on police powers of detention. modeled after the NDAA. I've talked about this the last 2 weeks, but it's back in the news. But how do you criticize them when that's what our criminal government, formerly Land of the Free, Home of the Brave, is doing? Also, Cheney, older, waited longer than average for heart transplant. That's how they're spinning it. Yeah, because you're not supposed to get a heart transplant when you're above about 55 on average, because they don't do well. Younger people in the bioethicist actuaries are supposed to get them, but not in the case of Dick Cheney. But I'll be honest, I'm surprised he waited that long. Somebody like Steve Jobs didn't wait very long for liver. And a lot of rich people just go to China or go to Japan. They fly it just, a couple hundred miles over the ocean. They have mobile execution vans. If you're a new listener, I'm not joking. Each major city has 24 mobile execution vans. They kill you for petty crimes, you name it. And then they chop your organs out on the tarmac. Guys, Google China mobile execution vans. It'll show them, it's like a London Guardian article, probably pop up first, choking a woman, and then it shows the van and the butchering facility in the back of it, the medical table. And then they fly them while they're still warm, generally right over the South China Sea there, right into Japan, right into those medical cities they've got there on the East Coast. China's high-tech death van, where criminals are executed and their organs are sold on black market. Yeah, scroll down. That's Daily Mail. Let's see. Oh, there's a loving execution van. Oh, just step right in here. And the execution van looks like a normal police van. Yeah, there's another one that shows them choking a woman and taking her in. By the way, they get their cues now from the United States, so that's got to make you feel proud. You're an extremist, though, if you don't like it. And I got a big police state stack. That's what, see, this is a climate fraud, global fascist takeover stack here. I got a little bit of that. Then I have the police state stack. Then I have black friend defends shooter of Florida teen. Big stack on the Trayvon Martin shooting outside Orlando there. We've got Cheney getting the heart, and then we've got Sandusky. I've got Cheney in that stack. Labeled likely pedophile in 98. Yeah, there were police investigations in 95 with raped kids and nothing was done. That's NBC News. I mean, what a perv. His house backed right up to a school where he'd watch the kids. And he was so emboldened, he was raping children in the showers during the broad daylight. And of course, the local sports writers are saying it was the big rich donors coming in. Of course that's what's going on. That's what the Texas Youth Commission did. Our country is run by the most psychotic, psychopathic, demonic monsters you can imagine. Giant pedophile armies with nuclear weapons. We'll be right back.
We're on the march. The empire's on the run.
You have found it, the front lines of the info war. We are the tip of the spear, not just myself, not just my crew, but you, the listeners, you, the activists, you, the freedom lovers out there. I commend you. I salute you. We have Gerald Celente on a big MF Global report coming up. We'll also get into other global trends and take your calls. Webster Tarpley, who's been to Syria, who's been to Uganda, who has been to all of these places, who's been to Libya. Recently, he's going to be here breaking down geopolitically what's happening, also the economy, and open phones for Webster Tarpley as well today. Let me get into some news on the authoritarian angle first, and then I'm going to get into Harvard scientists reverse the aging process in mice, now for humans. They've had this very type of technology for at least 20 years. When I was first on air 17 years ago, this was well established in different scientific journals. They're just now advertising it. And it's already on the market for many elites. But under bioethics, you will not have access to it. Unless we take our society back, but to do that, you'll have to control your own destiny and control the type of news you're into. And not just let them tell you what you're going to be watching. Like football. Again, I I get going over to a friend's house and grilling cheeseburgers or steaks and drinking beer and watching a football game. I get it. But when there is a scientific dictatorship with thousands of public documents, we've linked to some new ones today from the Rockefeller Foundation, about putting sterilants and cancer viruses in the vaccines, and then I've watched my family members and friends shrivel up, dying from cancer, and I watch young people getting cancer all over the place and the cancer numbers exploding. You know, I can't sit there and watch a football game anymore. Cannot do it. Occasionally I get roped into going to one. Parents invite me over for a barbecue. I want my children to be around their parents, their grandparents. And so I'll go outside and shoot a YouTube video and upload it. I will not watch it. I will not, I can't. Now, occasionally I'll watch a comedy because all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Something like Horrible Bosses or something was the last comedy I watched. It is funny. It's also not for children to watch. Jennifer Aniston's very lovely as a brunette. But the point is that I can't do it anymore. And you can go, man, that guy's a weirdo. He's obsessed with legislation. You know, so many times I'll be out to eat with business people, prominent people that invite me out to dinner. And even if they know about my show and invited me out because they have seen or heard the show, they still say, but isn't it kind of weird being into this? You know, shouldn't you not be so obsessed with this? And I'm like, how do I not be obsessed with knowing they're poisoning the food and water by design to sterilize me and to hurt my children and to hurt your children? I mean, I would have to be a lunatic to not be obsessed with this. And people are like, oh, it isn't that bad, Alex. No, it's that bad and then some, okay? Don't you get it? It's real. Don't you get it? It's all hiding in plain view. They think you're so stupid. It was on record that $2 billion, right at $2 billion, was transferred of private people's accounts to J.P. Morgan in London. That came out in Forbes, the Associated Press, the day after it happened. And it was just a minor footnote that they'd been transferred. And then a few weeks later, people couldn't get their money. It was like, oh, we'll look into it. And I'm like, look into it. It's right here. Corzine ordered it. It's on record. Then Corzine goes up and says, I know nothing about it, even though he was the CEO. And the head of the CME group comes out. It was the regulator, the private regulator over it, and says, no, he ordered it. I was in the phone calls. You don't move $2 billion without it being regulated. And the federal regulators, all in the three major groups, all the Securities and Exchange Commission, all of it, were formerly working under him at Goldman Sachs. He was the head of Goldman Sachs. And now it's been confirmed that J.P. Morgan said, we don't care if it's your private customers' money. You'll give it to us. It was Max Kaiser first reported that. Kaiser, who has the sources in Europe, you know, he used to work with George Soros' son. Not that he's involved in this. He says the head of J.P. Morgan called him up and said, you're dead. Kaiser isn't just going to say this. He's over there under French libel laws, where you basically have no First Amendment. He's not going to say that if he wasn't told that. Said, you're dead if you don't transfer that money. And the issue here is we've now gotten to the point